think that this year's Oscars perfectly captured the mood in Hollywood right now, and that's deer in the headlights. They aren't sure what to do in terms of cleaning up their own house. Like, it was kind of awkward that so many anti-Me Too people won tonight, right? Although Kobe Bryant rebounded spectacularly with his Fox News burn. Such finesse. He just slid it in there. You were like, oh, you didn't even see it happening until, bam, there it was. I thought it was particularly impressive. That's how you burn someone. And then also, I think they aren't sure how to handle inclusiveness in movies. They feel they've really got something here that audiences are excited about, but they have no idea how to navigate it. Although, to be fair to them, it's really tricky to navigate. Now, in my opinion, I think that when it comes to inclusiveness and groundbreakingness, the work really needs to speak for itself. That's when it's the most powerful and effective. And we saw that from the clip montages highlighting the most groundbreaking films of the year, both in terms of showing footage from those movies and also people talking about them within the montages. When they had a little time to think about what they wanted to say, it was curated and edited to be very concise and just really cut to the point, right? Because there is a danger, in my opinion, of the conversation drowning out the actual work. And I think you saw that happening very much so in the awards telecast itself in the room, and also I think on social media. And I hope that Hollywood is able to avoid that happening from allowing particularly political interest groups, who largely don't go to the movies, by the way, from hijacking films and turning them into something that's very divisive instead of something that's supposed to be all-encompassing. I mean, isn't it weird that you would take something that's supposed to be inclusive and turn it into something that's divisive? That's the antithesis of what we're trying to do here, but yet I see that happening. And I think for the most part, the audience is enjoying these movies and being moved by them, but they just are doing that. I think that this idea of running up to other people and saying, you should be moved by that, is wrong. And before someone says I do that with Wonder Woman, I do not. I never said that anyone had to like Wonder Woman. I just said that I liked it, a lot of other people liked it, and it made a crap ton of money, right? And that's, again, at the end of the day, that's why I love the box office so much. That's how we truly know if audiences have embraced something, right? So I think that the conversation drowning out the actual work is something that is very close to happening in Hollywood, and they need to really watch out for it. And one of the ways it could happen is if they continue to be too careful. Now, speaking of too careful, Jimmy Kimmel, who had to really play it safe tonight. He used his monologue more as a recap of what Hollywood cares about, right? Rather than actually hosting in terms of being funny and entertaining and also giving the show real direction and drive. I don't think he did that. To me, the comedy standouts were Kumail Nanjiani, both in his inspired and hilarious team up with Lupita Nyong'o. They were a great match, both for what they represented, and they were both very funny. They both looked fabulous. And I also loved his hilarious quip about, hey, Hollywood, make diverse movies because they'll make you so much money. I thought that was great. And again, Kumail Nanjiani knows how to speak to Hollywood. And he wasn't being too careful about it. That was fabulous. And then also, of course, Tiffany Haddish and Maya Rudolph, a new Tina Fey and Amy Poehler for sure. I think, Tiffany Haddish is already hosting the MTV Movie and TV Awards this year, and they just got a whole bunch more people excited about that, right? I'm sure the executives over at MTV were like, yes, Tiffany, yes, host, bring the house down, and she did. Both in terms of being funny and just so damn likable. But then also maybe for the Golden Globes or maybe even the Oscars next year, I think Tiffany Haddish, and it's funny because Kevin Hart is a mentor of hers and he really wants to host the Oscars. I bet Tiffany does it before Kevin. She was great tonight. This was a fabulous audition. And they had some political stuff in there, but again, just like with Nanjiani, they were real. They kept it honest, and also I think they made an effort to be inclusive. I mean, like their humor was everybody can laugh at this. Instead of, I think at some points it was like let's laugh at somebody else or let's laugh and keep someone else in line. Put them in check. I didn't think that was good. And by the way, I thought Tiffany Haddish's congratulations that they caught on the mic when she gave the Oscar to one of the winners that she presented to was so fabulous. It was both funny in her exuberance, but also so incredibly genuine. She really won me over tonight. I liked her before, but now I'm a big fan. As I wrote in my notes, her star has been on the rise, but I think that she really cemented her up-and-coming status tonight. Now, I'd also like to give a shout out to Gal Gadot. Why? Well, she rose above the complete shutout of Wonder Woman. And some of you tweeted me about this, and I agree. I thought it was pretty sleazy of the Academy to try and, still get a lot of mileage and to capitalize off of the Wonder Woman popularity, even though they didn't nominate it at all, right? It's like, hey, you didn't think it was special enough to give a single nomination, but yet you're going to, stick it all over your telecast? But anyway, the wonderful thing was that Gal Gadot put a smile on her face, showed up, and completely took over that Meet the Audience bit that, when Jimmy Kimmel took over everybody across the street to the movie theater. I thought that was fabulous. And just for those of you who this might not have occurred to you or you don't know this, the amount of work it must have taken for her behind the scenes to make sure that she was the one to go in with Kimmel one-on-one in the beginning and get that extra screen time. When Margot Robbie was there, and she's an actual Oscar nominee, and also Mark Hamill was there, and he is in a major Disney movie, and this is on a Disney network, and Jimmy Kimmel is a Disney star, that Gal Gadot still managed to be the one to go out there is incredibly impressive from a business standpoint. She can really move when she needs to. I'm so impressed with her. And that just that's a way to show. Talk about showing Wonder Woman style that you never give up the fight, right? I loved it. Now, as for the show itself, I really did love the clips that they used throughout. What a novel idea, celebrating film at the Oscars. I thought that was great. But I not only liked that they showed past movies, I love the montages for each category, but also highlighting the work, particularly toward the end, that was nominated. And I think that Daniel Kaluuya benefited from that in particular. I had forgotten just how nuanced his performance was in Get Out, because I only saw it in theaters. So to see it highlighted there, I said in my coverage for the Oscars before tonight that he really needed to get some attention to hopefully get some more work. He doesn't really have anything coming up. I think that while he didn't get a lot of on-camera time, unfortunately, that clip I hope did some. I as a producer, I would have taken note of it. I thought it was very good. Then most of the wins weren't a big surprise. And as always, the Academy is very democratic. You get an Oscar, you get an Oscar, you get an Oscar. Pretty much every movie went home with something, except for Lady Bird. And I saw some of you were very happy about that. And I would say, for Greta Gerwig, just like Idris Elba has told people to stop suggesting him for James Bond, Greta Gerwig needs to tell people to stop slamming male directors when discussing Greta Gerwig, because I think that it's not doing her any favors, and it's starting to make people not like Greta Gerwig, and I think that is not good for Greta Gerwig. So she should be like, hey, I'm nominated. Let's just celebrate directors in general, right? And on that note, I think that while feminism is very important, actions always speak louder than words. Instead of complaining about something, you should do something about it, right? And I think you did see a lot of action tonight. I mean, I thought that Frances McDormand's speech was a little over the top, a little cheap. But I think that the great moments tonight for women were Gal Gadot getting right out there, front and center. Margot Robbie being a producer of Oscar-winning film because of Allison Janney. I thought that was really great. Tiffany Haddish dominating. Rachel Morrison and Greta Gerwig's nominations themselves. And then also that amazing House of Cards ad for the final season with President Claire Underwood. That, to me, is what shows real progress. And also, this is tough, but I feel like if you want to win at the game, you can't change the rules to suit you. And I see that happening sometimes with the conversation and women in the picture. And I think that the women that I just mentioned not only succeeded, but they succeeded going toe-to-toe with their male counterparts. And that just blew me away. And I'm so proud and happy for all of them. Now on to the two big upsets of the night. Best song, Coco's Remember Me versus The Greatest Showman's This Is Me. And it went to Remember Me. Now Coco already won Best Animated Feature, which it totally deserved. It was fabulous. I'm a big fan of that movie. But I think that to take that Oscar away from The Greatest Showman. The Greatest Showman needed that Oscar, okay? To gotta get some recognition, to have some respectability, to get some credibility back. Because right now it's that movie that critics in Hollywood don't like, although Hollywood couldn't stop dancing to that song, as you saw when they did This Is Me at the show. But at least audiences like it. That's kind of what the Greatest Showman is right now. And I agree with many of you. I thought This Is Me was one of the weakest songs in the film, and if perhaps they nominated a different song, it would have won. But Some of you also pointed out, and I think this is true, The Greatest Showman just never, it stumbled with the P.T. Barnum situation that they tried to make a hero. Although Tanya Harding, it's crazy. Hollywood has to stop this because, they're like, oh, don't you try and present P.T. Barnum as a cool guy, but it's okay with Tanya Harding because what, she's a woman, right? And then they're like, oh, yes, me too, but here, Kobe Bryant, here, Gary Oldman, here are your Oscars, right? I mean, again, deer in the headlights, and I'm being a little tone deaf. It's like, I know Hollywood is in a tricky situation, but they continue to really step in it, I think, sometimes. So I don't see how you could, I guess what I'm saying is, how can you come down hard on the P.T. Barnum situation and not give The Greatest Showman an Oscar for having one of the most popular soundtracks of all time? Okay? Because of the P.T. Barnum situation, yet here's Oscar for I, Tonya and a ton of nominations. And here's Oscars for these people. It just, to me, doesn't make any sense. And then also Best Picture. And also it hurts Hollywood when they try and go out and talk about political stuff because people are like, what are you talking about? You guys are all over the place yourself. Then as for Best Picture, yes, The Shape of Water won. And at the end of the day, I think this underscored that while there are occasional upsets like Moonlight, Hollywood's just got to be Hollywood. And this is a very politically safe film. It's very political, mind you. Now, some people said I'm glad a political film didn't win. The Shape of Water is incredibly political. But while a lot of people have said that it's a complete film, and that's why it deserved to win, I think it's more that it checks all the boxes, which again, very Oscar friendly. But to me, it had no depth. I thought it was that was one shallow pool for that movie. And I thought that it never really fleshed out any of the characters. And it was really just kind of like, oh, did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did there? And again, Michael Shannon, I thought, was the best performance in the movie. And he's not even nominated. So that's the Oscars in a nutshell. And it's a little bit like when Spotlight won. Sometimes here's the thing. Risk-taking still gets us rewards from the box office. That's where risk-takers get rewarded. And don't worry, risk-takers. We got you. All right, so that's my thoughts on the 2018 Oscars, the 90th Oscars. What did you think of the show? There's certainly a lot to discuss. I look forward to continuing that discussion down below. And as always, you can check out some more videos, including who you picked to win at the Oscars this year at the BTT Oscar Vote right now.